Damn.
Alright, what's up guys? So we've got some goods for the front end of the Can-Am today. We'll start with this custom splice stuff because we talked about it once already before, but we didn't put this on when we talked about the rest of the custom splice stuff because to get to my winch you had to pull the whole front end apart, and as you can see we had to do that anyways to do the A-arms and everything that we are going with. So got this custom splice fair lead that we're going to throw on and this green winch rope. I'm pretty excited to run that. This is the color for like accents that this rig is going to be eventually. When I don't know, I might do a wrap, I might do a cage. Gonna do a cage, but anyways, this is the color that I'm going to go with. So I'm going to throw those on while this video is basically going to be like addressing the front end, and this is how I'm going to leave it for now. But then we've got a set of CT Race Worx tie rods with their bump, steer, delete, misalignment spacers. So I don't know if you guys have picked up on this watching the videos, or if you have a Can-Am and you've noticed it yourself, but I definitely noticed it. I wasn't originally going to do tie rods because they seem pretty stout and they're pretty big, and I've read good things about them as far as strength goes, but as far as the toe in, toe out, the factory geometry, don't quote me on this number, but I believe it was 4 inches, they said, between the cycle of the suspension, from full compression to full droop, it changes 4 inches throughout. And I've noticed it, I could feel it, I didn't really know what was happening, but watching in the video, I could definitely see it, that the tires are towing in and out, like when getting like traction hop, or the front end is light, like climbing an obstacle. I didn't really feel it going through the whoops, didn't really see it going through the whoops, but I know a lot of people that go through bigger whoops than we do, that's like a big thing. So I was just going to get the misalignment spacers, which you can get, but I decided to just go ahead and get the tie rods along with them, so that way, I've got spares. I don't think I'll ever need spares, but these are FK Heims too, so I mean these should be the best of the best to my knowledge. So I'm pretty excited to run those. And then obviously, as you can see here, we've got these CT Race Worx lower A-arms. I didn't go with the upper A-arms just because of simply because money. I mean, it's a lot of money to run. It's expensive stuff, but from what I've been told and what I've looked at, you won't break it. Like they're supposed to be built, and if you do, it's no BS, lifetime warranty, which is really cool. And for someone to stand behind their product like that, I mean, it's got to be good stuff, So, got lowers for the front, obviously. The rears we're running trailing arms, or stock trailing arms, and L&W radius rods if you're new here. But for now, just doing lowers. That's what I see most people bend. I see most of them bend right around here, and like this point where it kind of bends a little bit, factory. I see them kind of taco, or they taco right in here. I don't see too many of the uppers doing that, so I didn't go with them. I've seen a lot of lower ones bend. I'm sure, a lot of people do bend them. I'm sure they do bend, but for now I was just going with the lowers, and we'll roll with the punches and see how long they last on the uppers. Hopefully they're good, but we'll see. And while I'm in there, another thing, obviously I haven't had any issues with any of this, but I'm trying to get it before I have issues, so I'm not left stranded somewhere. But a lot of the Can-Am stuff is single shear, and what you mean by that is like the way the A-arm mounts to the chassis. This is part of the chassis here, and then it's just a bolt through here, And this plate doesn't tie to the chassis at all. It's literally just tying the two A-arms together. And then same with the front. It's like just this part is the chassis. This part is just tying all 4 points of the A-arms together. So CT Race Worx has the full front end, like bomb-proof Gusset Kit is what they call it. And that's supposed to make everything like double shear. That should be. So that in combination with their A-arms should, and their tie rods, I mean, it should be a pretty stout front end. The only other thing that, you know, they do offer a shock tower brace, but for what we do with crawling and stuff, I don't think I need it. I did want to run limit straps, but again, from what I understand, when you run the limit straps, you need a different shock tower brace to like give you points to bolt the limit straps to. And to do all that, I mean, it's a lot of money. So maybe that would be phase 2 of the build if I have an issue with, you know, where I'm running into breaking axles or some kind of thing like that where I think it's due to no limit straps. Maybe then, or if I bend an upper A-arm, maybe at that point I'll tear it all back down and do upper A-arms and shock tower brace. But for now, this is phase 1 of the front end. So as you guys seen, we got it tore down. And yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory as far as, I think, what was our other video? The winch video?
Yeah.
So we did the Warren Axon 5500. If you guys are curious on how that fits, you know, go back into our, probably a couple 10, 15 videos ago. We've got a complete video on that, and we talked about, you know, how to pull the whole front clip off and stuff. So we're not going to go through that every time, but it's not bad. I mean, maybe 10 minutes max. And that's with taking, you know, I've got rock lights and stuff that mount underneath there, but not a bad disassembly at all in my opinion. Something I did notice, or actually Billy noticed it, coming from the issues that we've had with the YXZ, with the portals and that kind of nature, which doesn't really pertain to this at all, but it was kind of a cool thing to notice is this knuckle has a steering stop built into it. So like, you know, if you break something, if you break a tie rod or a rack, you know, the knuckle will stop the wheel from hyperextending the axle. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's slick.
Yeah, that's really cool. You know?
I've never seen anything
It's little
else.
details that when you tear down a machine you learn. Like, I didn't know that, you know. Not that it's big or anything, but it is cool. So yeah, guys, we're gonna get this tore down more, and we'll check back in with you when we start throwing some of this new stuff on. So not only are these A-arms boxed and super heavy, I mean, like, they feel really beef. They look rowdy, but they're some of the probably the most high clearance A-arms that I could find in the game for the Can-am for the lowers. So that's why, a big reason why I went with them, on top of the fact that they're supposed to be super strong. But, you know, like, these ones aren't really high clearance thick. They arch up a little bit right there, but should be really cool. And when I switched machines, you know, doing a lot of rock crawling and stuff, I really did want to go with a lot of high clearance suspension. So kind of trying to hit the stuff before I bend it or break it, but also wanted to do high clearance stuff anyways. So
Alright guys, so we're pretty deep in this in this thing now. So we just, I mean, it's pretty involved, but you gotta pull basically the entire front of the machine apart to get at your A-arms.
yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, but it's definitely time consuming. And I mean, everything's came apart pretty well. The only thing, which we didn't really struggle with, but the only thing we'll really mention is, you know, the ball joints. We weren't able to press them out. We ended up having to use just a hammer and beat them out, just because of the way of, like, I don't know, holding it in the press was hard, just the way it's like angled. But we were able to tap them out with a hammer and a socket, and they came out fairly easy. So that was cool, and that was the lower ball joints. The uppers, we obviously don't have to take out because I'm not doing upper arms, but.
And we use PB Blaster too.
Yeah.
And you can't, and there's no way to put a socket like over the bottom like a normal ball joint press would be, because it's like the same width as the A-arm.
Right, because they don't give you much material here.
Yeah.
To like get a socket without being on the ball joint. So kind of hard to explain, but we couldn't find a way to press them out. But we were able to, you know, a couple swings with the hammer and they came out like that. So that was cool. We were able to press them in though. And this boot, so these are factory ball joints. This boot comes off, so if you stick a little screwdriver up under here, you can pop this boot off, and you can use a deep well 7/8 socket is what we use over this shaft, and then you can press it in. If you don't have a press, you know, I've got like the Harbor Freight press, but if you don't have one, I think you could hammer it in. It really wasn't that bad, but we have a press, so we used it. I think that's about it. You know, we did get a bushing kit from CT Race Worx. They're really good bushings. You can just tell like they're made out of a better material, and they're like grooved and stuff for self-lubricating, and they reuse the stock pins for like the bolts, the sleeves that go through the bushing. So got all that stuff changed over. Even did the bushings. It comes in a kit for the whole front end, so even if you're not doing all the A-arms, you gotta pull the A-arms anyways to do the Gusset Kit. So I figured I'd put the good bushings, all the same bushings in while we're in here. So hopefully this thing doesn't come apart again until I break something. If I break something. I mean, I'm sure the day will come, but the axles came out really easily. You don't need to pull the axles out. We did just to get them out of the way, and we had heard that they're hard to get out, so we figured if they popped out, we'll pull them out and throw some anti-seize on them, and then, you know, obviously put them back in when we rebuild. But
also, too, just a quick note, the CT Race Worx arms do come with, they're already pre-tapped for the grease zerk, so you can just pull them off your stock arms and reuse them right onto the new one, so that's pretty cool.
Alright guys, so I just want to get a shot like this too. It's hard to tell in film, but you know, they are definitely a lot more high clearance. You can see in the back like how much higher it sticks over this one, which is the biggest thing I was after, on top of the fact that they're just straight up beef. I mean, they weigh double if not triple the amount, so you can tell there's obviously a lot more material in them. But yeah, super impressed so far. The fitment on the stock ball joints going in them was really well, so that's cool to see as well. Alright, yeah, so to get to this point, you know, I went with a Gusset Kit from CT Race Worx, obviously, with their A-arms. I really recommend it because everything, you know, like these are the stock little plates that kind of tie each one together. They tie both front A-arms together.
Yeah, I mean, bend one of those
literally
ones. Yeah.
I just bent it by hand. So
yeah, it's 10.
That's about useless. This one's a little thicker. I'd have to break out the vise, but it wouldn't take too much to bend that one. Still useless. And this one, same as the first one. I mean,
yeah, you can.
So I really recommend that you get the Gusset Kit as you do it. And if you get the Gusset Kit, this is another cool thing. It comes with instructions on how to tear down the whole rig to this point, which is pretty cool, you know, for some of you guys who might not, or kind of be overwhelmed to tear down this far, which I don't blame you. I mean, you got to take the whole thing apart. We pulled the shocks off. You could strap them up, I think, but with the, you know, it's just a couple extra bolts to pull the shock off.
Yeah, I mean, if you, and two, like, doing the Gusset Kit, or, you know, let's say you weren't planning on doing it and you were just doing A-arms, you got to tear the whole thing apart anyway. So
yeah,
while you're in there, I mean, it's worth the extra, you know, money.
Bucks,
yeah, just to get the Gusset Kit with it, because then it's all done. And
well, plus you're adding so much strength. So Can-am, the way I understand it, Can-am made these like a pinch point to where this will bend. If you hit something hard, that'll bend before tweaking your frame and totaling your grid. So now by going to these built A-arms and not doing a Gusset Kit, you know, it's moving the weak point to the frame. So I really recommend doing a Gusset Kit. You know, I've said it a couple times now, but it's just how we feel, so we want to strongly suggest it. On top of the fact that it gives instructions for the whole job with the Gusset Kit. It doesn't come with the A-arms, I don't believe. I got both, so they came with it. But I think it's just the Gusset Kit, because that's, you know, an A-arm's an A-arm. Like, it's take off what you can till you get to it. But
yeah, I mean, it's all pretty much the same stuff you'd have to take off too. I mean, I think it probably is all the same stuff.
So anyways, the next step for us, and we're gonna try and document like the building out from here. We kind of tore down quick, but moving forward, to put the Gusset Kit on, you got to cut these bolts off, or studs I'll call them. These two bolts here hold a plate with these studs on them. So you cut these off here, and then you got to cut these or grind these little tabs off, and then it'll be the next step of, also you got to loosen your 4 bolts on your diff. I guess this is smart lock only, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are smart lock, but to get this bolt to clear, like pushing it through, so I believe you got to use longer bolts. Haven't got that far, but I'm gonna cut this stuff off now, and then it's time to start rebuilding, which I'm excited for that. So.
Yep, I am too. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll get back to you here in a little bit.
So yeah, pull these 2 bolts out. They're these gold ones here. They run through and they suck these studs up against there. That's what you just cut out. So then this is CT's race plate, I believe. So I think this is an add-on. You guys will see it on the site if it is. But you put this in the same place, and you run these bolts in, and then that gives you threads. So pretty cool. Alright guys, so we got some of this stuff kind of sitting up on here now. So we'll start on the back. The back gusset is like that piece here, and it ties across to the front side. So before, it just had a piece that would go from this bolt to your other side A-arm bolt, and it would just tie those two together. This piece actually ties those two together and ties it back to the frame. So kind of like double shear, I guess you'd call it. So that's all you do for the lower back A-arms, and then for the upper rear A-arms, you run this guy, and that does the same thing that I just told you. Ties both A-arms together and brings it up and around to the back side. But then this plate here bolts to the one I was just explaining, and that ties it through, one second, that ties it through to the front. So as you can see it there, it bolts through here, goes over the diff, and ties it through to the front like bulkhead or whatever, and then that's where this is. So before, up here, you know, your bumper or factory like bulkhead is what bolts here, you know, depending on what you're going with. But this does like the same purpose as what I was explaining below. Instead of it just bolting to this thin, like where the frame is, it's like a double piece, so the A-arm actually slides in between there, and then you bolt it through. So kind of cool. It definitely really ties everything together, and I could see how it makes everything a lot stronger. So I'm impressed so far. The only hiccup we did run into is, which isn't CT's problem at all, but because I'm running the Super Atv front bumper and winch mount, these bolts have to be long enough for this to go through and this, because both of those bolt to this point, and the bolts are not long enough for all of that stuff. So I'm gonna have to run to the store and get some longer bolts in the morning. I think the stores are closed now, so for now, with that race plate, you know, you can run a bolt through here and it threads into like the nut. So pretty cool. You don't have to try and hold a nut on the backside like you would if you didn't get their race plate add-on, which would be a tight fit for sure. Also, a thing to note is I did end up having to pull out my 2 diff bolts from under here. I left 2 of them in, they are loose, and I had to pull the other 2 out in order to tilt the diff that way to slide this bolt through. So we're gonna throw some of this stuff on for now, just so we can continue on with the hub side and everything like that. But we're gonna have to pull these bolts out in the morning after I get some longer bolts, and yeah, then we'll start our final assembly. Alright guys, so here it is, finished product. Definitely looks rowdy. I mean, I'm super pumped with how it turned out. As you guys can see from like the front, you know, when you lay them down side by side, they look a lot different than each other, but when you really put them on the machine, you can see like how much clearance you're really gaining, you know, up in this area right here. Because before it used to go from here like across, so it should really help with ruts and stuff like that. I'm super pumped. I mean, it just looks so mean. They look beef. So they should hold up well. Should help me a lot too, which is really what I was after going with this company. But yeah, we got the A-arms on. We got these bump steer delete tie rods, which I don't know if you can really see these spacers, but it raises this heim up in the knuckle. And that way at full droop the tie rod doesn't droop as much. So, you know, I'll throw a clip in right here of what the tie rod used to do.
Can't really see.
No.
The CT Race Worx one.
Oh yeah.
The sign.
Yeah, the milled letters or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got the tie rods, we got the lower arms, and then you can't really see, it's hard to see it from in here, but I showed you guys yesterday when we talked about getting those longer bolts. There's a couple Gusset Kits or whatever you want to call it, and we got all those in there, and those work good too, so should add a lot of strength, that's for sure. But then we also got our custom splice rope put on, a green sharp looking rope, so that'll be pretty cool. You guys will see that in action, I'm sure. And the fair lead as well. So. Yeah guys,
so how was the install?
I mean, it's really in depth. It's funny you bring that up. So we've got,
I figure we better tell them that it was pretty in depth.
Yeah.
And two-person job, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because you kind of got to slide both. You kind of got to slide both A-arms on at the same time because they like use the same bracket. It's sort of hard to explain, but all I can say is about the whole scenario is, one, I believe these are, at least when I got them, they were built to order. So, you know, order ahead of time is all I can really say about that, because it took a while to get them. I mean, their quality, you know, they're built powder coated, like they're legit.
Yeah, the fitment too was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
everything.
it was perfect.
The ball joints fit in there like everything was factory. So I mean, it was really cool, really good. All I can say is that supposedly the stock ones bend very easily. I could see why. I mean, they knuckle down to nothing nearly, and you know, there's a lot of stress on those, especially being 72 wide. So I don't know. I would highly recommend getting a set of A-arms on order before you bend one, because then you'll be out for, you know, a month or two in it, and that's like from start to finish, because I mean it's a pretty big project. You got to tear the entire front end apart to get them off, and you know, I don't know. I guess that's the first thing I'd say is, you know, if you can afford it, look into it now before you need them. I get it, they're expensive, you know, but they're quality. So, and they're some of the highest clearance ones that I've ever seen that I think are even on the market. But, and then two, like he said, it's really in depth, the install, and I would highly suggest having a buddy or whatever help you out for the install. Not necessarily the tear down, but definitely when you put the new stuff back together, because with the Gusset Kit, both sides kind of got to go on at the same time. So those are the two biggest pointers, I'd say. The instructions are pretty legit.
Yeah, I mean, nothing was hard either. It's not like it was like a hard install. It was just
very
a lot of pieces, yeah, and a lot of stuff had to come apart.
The front end, and that has nothing to do with CT Race Worx.
No.
That's more or less just geared towards Can-am. You know, the way these front ends are put together, it's like a freaking puzzle. So, you know, you got to pull the front clip, you got to pull this half of the bumper, that bottom part of the bumper, the radiator. You got to loosen the diff to get the air and bolts out. Like, it's extreme, you know. Coming from the YXZ, if you guys don't know, but I used to have YXZ, and fortunately, I never changed the arms or anything like that. Never wanted to invest the money in high clearance stuff, and never bent one, which was really impressive. But you know, just the simplicity of like the design, it's way easier to pull them off. It's way easier to pull the machine apart. You don't have to take everything apart to get to it. Not that it's hard, it's just more time, more complex. But I think that's about it, guys. I mean, you got anything else to add?
No, I think that basically covers it. I mean, they were worth it in the end.
Yeah.
For what you're going to gain. I mean, I definitely think it's a worthwhile. I mean, you need to do A-arms. There's no getting around it for the type of riding we do. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't bent one yet. I haven't been easy on it, but it also hasn't taken that perfect hit that bends it. But
they were pretty dinged up in a couple of spots, so.
Yeah, they had a couple little dings, but nothing too bad. I don't know. I would recommend them. You know, it wasn't too bad. You guys could definitely tackle it yourself, I'm sure. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something here. You know, let us know what you guys think, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.